I can't believe I watched the whole thing. Hello there, CriterioNate here, number 480. Masaki Kobayashi's The Human Condition. Ninja no Joken. 1959 to 1961, 574 minutes. 574 minutes. Black and white, monaural stereo, and Japanese with English subtitles, 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio. Of course, they don't also mention that Mandarin and Russian are spoken in the movie, but yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's Criterion for you. Anyway, holy crap. Yeah, this is, I think, possibly the longest movie we've seen in the Criterion collection. Well, no. Well, not unless you count, unless that's not counting Berlin Alexander Flats, but that's a TV series. But and even then, these were released as okay. So here's the thing. Here's what as far as how I did this. First of all, I had no time to watch a 9.5 hour movie, and I thought, okay, wait a minute. So, but then I found out, looked, and I was like, oh, they split it up. So it's split up into 6 parts. Each movie is 2 parts long, and they were released on 3 separate occasions. They were released in installments. I didn't realize that until I looked at the Wikipedia page and looked at the discs, and I thought, oh, okay. I realize how they did this now. So last night, I decided to split up. Last night I did part 1, or just the first movie, and then today I watched the second movie and the third movie together, as well as the supplements. And I thought about splitting up the review, but then I realized, I feel like, even with just the Eclipser, the way the Eclipser is going to start doing, one review for all the movies, I kind of want to stop, splitting up. I think with Berlin Alexander Platz, that was such a much longer review than this one, and so I thought, it'd make more sense just to talk about all 3 movies in one review. So here they are. It's because I kind of just want to keep the channel uncluttered, if you will. I mean, there are certain instances, there are going to be certain exceptions to the rule, possibly the Lone Wolf and Cub review, definitely the Zatoichi Blind Swordsman set. I'm going to have to, we're probably going to do a movie a day or a couple movies a day or something like that. That will not be all done in one part. But anyway, let's talk about The Human Condition. Let's talk. Holy hell. This is fantastic. This is a great set of movies. And it's powerful stuff. It's very, very powerful. I was just tripping. I liked the second movie the best. I thought the middle part of Kaji's story was the most interesting to me. But anyway, let me give you just to try to give you the synopsis of each movie. Movie 1, which I think is subtitled No Greater Love, it features this guy named Kaji, who's a humanist and a pacifist, and we see him kind of grow up and basically, I guess, he tries to inflict a moralistic nature on all the people he meets and all that, only for it to not really work out for him too much. At the first movie, we see him getting married to his wife Michiko, and he gets a job working with a coal factory or something like that. He is in charge of the Chinese prisoners. This is all taking place during the war as well. I should mention that. And the Chinese prisoners are kept in terrible conditions, and Kaji really wants to change that, but he's constantly shot down by his superiors. And at the end of the movie, at one point, he ends up being in charge of the whorehouse prostitutes who go to the mine to take care of the men and all that. And they don't really want to do it, and and the prisoners feel very kind of used, as if as if women are going to help them, work better and all that. But anyway, so yeah, so basically at the end of the movie, Kaji, there's to be an execution, and Kaji's supposed to be the witness, and Kaji's outspoken nature against the execution ends up getting all the other witnesses and the watchers and all the other prisoners who are watching to start chanting murderer, murderer, and they end up calling off the execution. Kaji, feeling victorious for a minute, is kind of distraught when he finds out that he's brought to he's sent to the army basically, and his exemption doesn't go through. So that's where we end in part 1. Part 2, which I forget the name of it. It's like the Road to Victory or something like that. Actually, I could check right now because I've got the page up here. Let's see, the Road to Eternity. This one focuses on Kaji as a private in the army, and he's trying to change things in there. There's different things, like he's an excellent marksman, although he really doesn't want anything to do with the being in the barracks and all that. And he tries to help out this older soldier, Obara, who's got really bad eyesight, and so he can't shoot, and he's very weak and all that, and he's humiliated constantly by their superiors. And Kaji ends up filing a complaint against one of his superiors, and ends up getting, oh gosh, how does it work? I'm trying to remember it. I just saw it. That's the problem when you got such a long movie. There's so many details to think about. But I did want to again do this all in one review. But anyway, he tries to help Obara, but Obara is basically, and I guess his wife ends up leaving him or humiliating him through letters or something like that, or she doesn't, she's not there for him, and so Obara ends up killing himself, and he's very upset by this, and so that's why I think he ends up wanting the private first class to get reprimanded, but Kaji ends up getting a promotion instead, and later on he ends up getting his revenge on him when he ends up letting him die after one of his other friends ends up escaping, and they end up falling in quicksand, and Kaji gets himself out and leaves the other PFC in there, and so that's, oh gosh, we're about halfway through the movie, about halfway through the whole set, and so when he gets out of the hospital, he's promoted to private first class, and he's asked to lead these new recruits, and he promises, he tells himself he tells them he's going to rule them strictly, but he's also going to be like on the line, he's going to rule with an iron fist, but in the barracks he wants to treat them with kindness and support and all that, and which his superiors didn't show him or any of his fellow privates when he was in that position. And so eventually he ends up taking Kaji, when his recruits screw up, Kaji ends up taking the blame and get beaten, and eventually they end up thrown onto the front line, and Kaji ends up having to loses almost half his men to the Russian army, and he I think he kind of loses it a bit when he ends up, at one point, one of the soldiers ends up screaming, basically surrendering, and Kaji has to kill him with his bare hands. and there's a line says something about like I think they printed in here something about what is the line? What's the line? It's not my fault that I'm Japanese, yet it's my worst crime that I am. And that's basically where part 2 ends. The second movie ends. And so the third movie, which was released about 2 years after the first 2 movies, called The Soldier's Prayer, now features Kaji and a few other soldiers basically trying to escape the pursuit of the Soviet forces. And while they're at, they run into some refugees that they try to help, and he ends up befriending a prostitute. And then later on, he ends up getting kidnapped. He ends up being kidnapped by the Soviet army, and working in, I think, the same kind of conditions that the men he oversaw in the first movie were in. And so anyway, he ends up trying to. And another big point about this movie is that Kaji is a communist, and so he's constantly criticized throughout the movie by this. He tries to sympathize with the Russians, who were more or less communist at the time. However, the translator that he has, basically is corrupt and doesn't want to translate his words the way that he wants him to, and so Kaji ends up becoming extremely disillusioned by, this ideology that he's really grown to like, and eventually at the end of the movie he ends up escaping. He finally makes his way out of the army, and he becomes a beggar, and he's constantly criticized by the Chinese. He tries to beg for food and nobody helps him out. And all the while he keeps trying to get back to Michiko, his wife, and the movie shows him basically dying in the snow, and that's it. I really wanted him to get back. I wanted him to win, but I think that would have been a little too easy. I think it would have been a little too easy if he had just basically gotten back to Michiko and happy ending and all that. This was a movie that I feel like was destined to not have a happy ending. But I held out for hope. I held out for hope for Kaji because I rooted for him. I don't care, naive or not. I feel like a lot of what he said made a lot of sense in that movie, and I feel like I'd have done the same thing. If I was in his situation, I would have reported any misdoings to the men or anything like that. I totally would have called people out, but there it is. So yeah, really powerful stuff. I highly recommend everyone check it out. Don't let the film length scare you away. Watch this in parts. If you've got the time, go watch it all. Watch it all in one. But don't feel pressured to watch all 3 movies in one sitting, because each movie's over 3 hours long. You don't want to do that to yourself. Well, the second movie is, I think, the shortest at like a little under 3 hours, but still, you want to split this up. One thing I thought was interesting, which I guess they did. Speaking about the length, I guess because the first movie is the longest and it's over 200 minutes long. I think because of that, they actually put in the first movie is the only movie with an intermission. The second and third movies don't have any intermission between parts. They're parts 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Parts 1 and 2 do have an intermission, and after part 2, there's like an extra set of credits. For parts 3 through 6, all the credits are at the beginning of its own movie. So. Just an interesting thing I noticed. I kind of was digging the intermission feel of it. Obviously, of course, watching it on home video, intermissions don't really matter too much, but there you are. So anyway, outside of that, what can I tell you about this movie? It's Tatsuya Nakari. We've seen him in a billion things. He's been in Kajimusha, Kwaidan, Samurai. I think he's in. No, that was just. No, he wasn't in Samurai Rebellion. He was in Kill. He was in The Face of Another. He was in Iran. He was in Harakiri. He was in a great Harakiri. So many good movies. So anyway, yeah. So he was fantastic. He was amazing to watch. I thought the actress who played Michiko was really good too. There's a fantastic scene that one of my favorite scenes in the second part was when Michiko comes and Kaji is granted a night with her, and so he's given a bunkhouse, a private bunkhouse where they can spend the night together, and it's a great bit, and this is a bit of a spoiler, but there's a great bit where he ends up, he asks her one favor, and he asks her to get naked and get in front of the window because he wants to burn that image in his mind, and it's just like, God, that's sexy. So what is her name? What is her name? Michio Aratama. Yeah, she was really good. Yeah, she's in every part except for part, I think, 4. So yeah. So anyway, outside of that, yeah, I don't really have much else to say. This is a groundbreaking, just fantastic work. I do want to get this. I am very hesitant to get it on DVD because I smell a Blu-ray around the corner, and I hate to spend the money on such an expensive set twice. But who knows? Maybe I will. Maybe I'll give it some time, and maybe give it another year, or maybe next year they'll release The Human Condition on Blu-ray. Unless, I don't know, although it also depends on whether or not, I think part of the reason, or the reasoning for Criterion putting movies on Blu-ray in the first place is because of the condition. So I thought, it looked good, but I don't know if it's Blu-ray good or not. But anyway. So yeah, so that's all I got. I highly recommend checking this out. This is a really powerful work. I liked it. It's based on a novel by a guy named Junpei Gomikawa, and I guess Kobayashi tried to stay pretty faithful to it, although there are a few scenes that are not in the book, which is not the worst thing. Check this out. Don't feel pressured to watch it all in one sitting. But do check it out. It's some really, really trippy stuff. I definitely got into it. And I want to watch this again just because I know there are characters I forgot about. Characters that come back later in Kaji's life that I was like, wait a minute. Totally wasn't paying attention to who would be important. Who would come back in parts 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or anything like that, especially from the first 2 parts, But yeah, so anyway. Human Condition. A. What a trip. Supplements. 4th disc has all the supplements, all on that, And then, so there's basically a few things. There's an excerpt from that interview that Kobayashi did with Masahiro Shinoda, which we've seen on, I think, like the Samurai Rebellion discs, and I think they've excerpted it on a few others. I think Harakiri has some of that interview. So this is the one that focuses. This is the part that focuses on the Human Condition. There's also a new interview with Tatsuya Nakari, who's still alive. He's 80. He just turned 85 this year, and I guess he was like 77 around the time of this, because it was produced in 2009. So he's about 77 probably. There's a new piece by Shinoda featuring about a video, basically a video appreciation about the Human Condition and Kobayashi's work and all that, and the trailers for all 3 movies, which are great to see. I loved seeing those, and I would love to have been someone in Japan during those times and be able to see like, oh, part 3 is coming out, part 2, the final installment, it's like today, we all these sequels that come out, it's kind of cool, to be able to get excited about that, although I don't know if this is basically the most exciting movie, but hey, if you like the story and you're interested in Kaji's tale and his journey, by all means, get into this. There's nothing wrong with it. Human Condition. I'm glad I got a chance to see this in my lifetime. So, that's it for today. And that's probably the last good movie we're going to see for a while. Because I got a stack load of shitty movies looking at me right in the face. I'm gonna call bad reviews on all of these. I'm gonna call it on all of these. These are terrible movies. You wanna know what they are? Well, you know two of these. You're gonna see two of these. Made in USA. 2 or 3 things I know about her. Godard. So that'll be. I'm gonna try and get those done tomorrow. Tuesday. Repulsion, starring directed by that child raper himself, Roman Polanski. And then we got this Jean Dielman 23 Quad du Commerce 1080 Bruxelles, which looks, from what I've heard, looks like the stupidest thing ever. It's got what's her name, Delphine Seyrig, who was terrible last year at Marienbad. She's gonna be terrible in this. So this experimental crap's coming up. And then The Last Days of Disco, directed by a guy who did a good movie, but starring that dick sucker herself, Chloe Sevigny. So, not looking forward to it. Not looking forward to any of these movies. Which is why I'm glad that you're not going to see me for a while. So the schedule is, so basically, Made in USA, 2 or 3 things I know about her, and Repulsion will be done this week. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday we will have no review. Saturday I will try to do Jean Dielman. I can't guarantee it because it's a pretty long movie, and I don't know if I'm going to have time between my work shifts, but I will try. Which means that, so that way we can do this next week. On Sunday the 4th, I think. I think it's what day is? Sunday the 3rd. And then I'm still waiting on Nikatsu Noir, that'll be coming in, and then thankfully I'll take a long deserved break and get the get freaking what's his name in here, the Eclipser. And then I should go ahead and put a hold on the next couple. Homicide, That Hamilton Woman, Howard's End, and a couple others. So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. What I get is, don't try to spread love wherever you can, unless you're watching a bunch of crappy movies, in which case hate all you want. Just try to spread peace. There's too much shit going on in the world today right now, and just try to love one another. That's all I got. I truly hope that we're going to get through whatever we're going through right now. Whatever you're going through right now, if you're going through something, I hope you get through it. Shoot, I wanted to have a more comical one, but I don't really have anything comical about this movie. It's a great movie, and I think, again, just never give up. Just never give up. That's all. I'll leave it at that. So, which is easier said than done, considering look at what I've got. So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and we will see you hopefully tomorrow for both Made in USA and 2 or 3 things I know about her. I'm gonna torture myself with double Godard. Oh boy. I can't wait for the day when I see a good movie again. And until then, goodbye.